I've read your horoscope, and bad news. It doesn't look good. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is tarot. I'm going to go ahead and just say at the top of this, please like and subscribe, because I just watched tarot. Uh, really just like and subscribe anybody who watched tarot. If you have a friend who watched tarot, just maybe give them a hug. Uh, anything just to pass along. This film has audio description from the media access group. Uh, thank God, because I didn't want to miss a beat of this movie. And no, luckily I was able to really understand fully the film. And it was a newer narrator that I wasn't familiar with. I've never heard him credited before, which always makes it impossible for me to remember their names. But what I will say is the choice of narrator here is nice in that regard, because this film does target that middle school crowd that goes out on Friday nights looking for something to do, or at least they used to. I don't know, maybe they just watch TikTok videos nowadays. But we used to make films like this more on the reg, and teens would show up to them, and nobody would care because no actual adult wanted to see this movie. So when I worked in theaters, we have movies like this all the time, and people could, like, adults just, they were like, I don't want to see that. That looks dumb. Who's that for? And they just see a whole bunch of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds walking in that movie, and they're like, well, that answers that. So this is tarot, and I can't, this is not going to be like a positive compliment sandwich. So we're just going to go ahead and say the good thing is it's not a time waster, in so much that the movie is 90 minutes. Thank God. It does not waste your time. It's in and out, and flows pretty well in terms of pace. I couldn't really ask it to do much more. I mean, I would like for it to be shorter because it's awful, but realistically, it uses the appropriate length of time. It's just that appropriate length of time is written and directed by the same two people, which I fucking love. Oh my God, it makes it so much easier to absolutely shit on a movie. Absolutely shit all over a movie. This review is not great, guys. This review is... anything you've heard about tarot is absolutely true. I don't even know how it has a positive score at all on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I want to find those critics and read their reviews. Be like, what is it that you saw in this movie? This movie is written by two people who basically were like, what if we made a movie that had rules, but then had no rules? And the other person was like, ooh, do tell. And then they wrote tarot. Which, by the way, is adapted from a book called Horoscope, which is a far better name for this movie, because I was thinking, they say the word horoscope so many times. I was like, why is this movie not named Horror-scope? With two R's instead of horoscope. That was the book. I was like, oh my God, this was a book? Oh my God, this was a book. Somebody read this book and was like, this should be a movie. Dear God, help us all. So some, I don't know, disparate group of teens, or college students, I guess. They're college students. They live in dorms. Never mind. They're college students, are gathered for some, mixed shenanigans, mixed gender shenanigans. They're boys and girls. And they're at this, I don't know, cabin thing. I don't know. They're at a house. It's not theirs. And there they find a deck of tarot cards. And apparently the rule, like Fight Club, the rule about tarot cards is you don't read someone else's deck. Bad luck. They do it anyway, because, they're dumb college kids. And apparently one of them knows how to do this. So they sit down and they read their tarot cards. And you're watching a movie called Tarot. And even if you haven't seen a trailer for this, you can pretty much pick up on the fact that this is a horror movie. and they're reading tarot cards. And these tarot card readings are so fucking obvious. Like, this was the worst. And we have to go through the entire scene because you have to know how everyone's gonna die. So it's the longest scene, but it's also really integral to the plot because it's how everyone dies. See, that's the thing, is that they don't even try to hide it. This isn't like creative, like Final Destination, where it's just like everybody's cursed and something magically might happen. No, no. And by the way, there will be spoilers in this review. Lots of spoilers. Because honestly, this movie, I don't think cares. And it's not even trying. Like, it spoils itself. Like, anybody with literally an IQ above like 80 would be able to follow this movie. Like, you could start taking, and just anyone, like a dog could follow this movie. Like, could be like, I follow this plot because she's literally spelling out their deaths for them. Like, there were some when she puts and then she like lingers on some things so that you know. But, like, there's like one girl, she's like, "You're gonna find yourself trapped in a box," and I was like, okay, so that girl's gonna get trapped in a box somehow. And then there's like another girl who gets like the hangman noose, and I'm like, oh Jesus. I'm just like, jeez. There's another girl who gets like a ladder, and you're like, okay, so a ladder is going to be involved. I mean, like, they linger on like everything so much in the opening sequence. It's not even interesting anymore. It's just like, ah, fuck you. Oh, I love the kid who gets a clown. He's like, why did I get clown? Why did you get a clown? I'm like, oh God, there's a clown in this movie. Like, every single person gets something where you're just like, this fucking movie. Anyway, so after they're done reading all of their dumbass shit, there's this really eerie scene where one of them, the Jacob Batalon, Ned. By the way, Sony, if you are looking for movies, have you considered adding Ned to your like as a spin-off? You know, following Craven. I don't know what's after Craven, but maybe Ned should have his own movie. Because Jacob Batalon will apparently sign on to do literally anything. So he plays, I think, the gay character in here. He's doing something with his voice, so but he keeps walking around with like a vape pen, and that's like the bulk of his character development is he has kind of a little bit of an effeminate voice to him, and he vapes. Characters. But he sees like the door like swings open, and then he sees like a presence. There's a presence outside, undefined presence, and then it goes away. And that happens a lot. There'll be like a presence that'll be like behind them. You're like, ooh, is death following them? Is it something? No, never. It's not that interesting. Never mind. So what happens, and why this movie is fucking terrible, is because why I said that there are no rules is because once they've read the tarot cards, A, nobody dies in order. Like, they don't die in the order that they were read. B, basically, these tarot cards have like superpowers. They don't just curse you in the way like Final Destination curses you, where like they're predicting that, no, that would be creative. No, basically they unleash imaginary hell upon you. Whatever needs to have happen in order for you to die happens. Things that have no place in like reality happen. Like, the girl with the hangman noose, she doesn't just accidentally find herself hung. There's a little fucking hangman ghost that like appears out of nowhere in the middle of the road, like walks across the top of the car and starts chasing her. And then like she gets like the noose thrown around her neck. She gets ripped up into the sky and like gets dropped back down. And like her friends are like, ah, she's dead. And I was like, what is she even hanging on to in this scene? Like, where does this rope go? Like, where does this rope go? It goes nowhere. It's so fucking stupid. And every single death has like a character that's attached to it. So like the actual hangman. And then there's like this high priestess. You know, she's the first kill, by the way. She's when you know the film's getting real dumb. Is there's a girl who's alone in a house by herself. It's a creepy house that makes absolutely no noise, by the way. I think it's like a dorm, but it's like the darkest, coldest, quietest dorm. And she's on a phone call, and there's like a ladder coming out of the attic. She's like, "That's weird." She's like, "Where did this ladder come from?" And it sounds like there's somebody like moving around upstairs. Well, she does the smart thing, and she just kind of like pushes the ladder up into the attic, and then closes the door and then walks away. And then she goes back into her room, and then she hears a thud outside. First of all, she hears a thud. I'd be like, no, no, fuck you, no. Like immediately, I'd be like, no. This wherever I'm living is way too creepy. I definitely would stay on the phone. I'd be like, I'm gonna stay on the phone with you because there's a thud outside, and if something happens, you need to call 911. But no, she's like, let me go. I think some of the girls are back. And I was like, does that sound like the girls? Did they just like walk in the house and like fall down on the floor? Like, what kind of sorority are you in? But no, it's the fucking ladder. So the ladder comes down, and she's like, huh, there's a ladder. Did I just hear something about a ladder? That's so weird. There's a fucking ladder in front of me. Maybe I should explore this ladder. So she goes up the ladder, and like lo and behold, there's like there's shit. Of course, there's shit in the attic, right? There's shit in the attic. There's images, and it looks like we're gonna get like maybe some consistency here. There's some like crosses and candles, like there might be some sort of like seance type thing. You're like, ooh, what is this? And then like out of nowhere, this like high priestess thing materializes, scares the shit out of her. She falls down on the floor, and then basically her death by ladder is that the high priestess in the attic takes the ladder and keeps slamming it down on her from above. So that's what I'm saying. Like the movie has no rules. It's like they didn't want to think about anything creatively. They were like, how could she die on a ladder? Well, we could come up with, well, what if it was like a fire escape ladder and she was trying to calm it because she was locked out? And then like the fire escape, no, we could do that. No, how about we just have like a random demon ghost bitch just fucking materialize out of nowhere, grab a ladder, and just beat her to death with it? That's fun. That's a great movie. We should do that. Let's do that. Like, fuck. What in the holy shit? What the holy shit? So, of course, she gets a call from like one of the girls at the time, like while she's dying, like in the middle of it's that like feeble phone with the phone's just out of reach, and she's like, she can't reach the phone, and she's been hit like 5 times by this ladder. And then you get that like final, but it's PG-13, so the blood just kind of like splatters onto the phone. And then like, we cut away, and they're like, oh, it's so weird how she died. Yeah, that is weird. These kids are really stupid, by the way. But what really pissed me off about this scene, and why I think these 2 filmmakers are on the hot list to watch for garbage filmmakers, like we're down there with like Uwe Boll, is that they have, okay, so there's no one else here. She's the only, we've established she's alone in this house, this giant dorm. So girl's dead. She's not moving. She's got that like blank stare on her face, and the high priestess comes down, and then she turns to the camera and screams. And I'm like, who is that scream for? Like, people like good horror movies, and like movies with horror movie plots that like they're good with pretty much anything, but that like jump scares are already cheap. And then when you try to go for a jump scare that has literal no purpose, because who is she screaming at? Like, we're not in there. You can't break the 4th wall. We didn't have our tarot cards read. She didn't read the audience. This isn't like an interactive movie. So, Jesus, this movie, I don't know. Every death is ridiculously stupid, and then they just materialize whatever they need to materialize. There's this poor girl who, the one with the box, like they materialize like this whole fucking audience. There's like a magician, and she gets trapped in a magician's box and then sawed in half. But like she's like on a stage. She goes from being inside the cabin to being like on a stage, like inside of a box with an audience. And I'm like, where is she? Like most of the time, like I don't even know what to do with the audio description because I'm like, this movie is so functionally stupid. I wouldn't even know if the audio description was missing something because like we could be somewhere and then you could just suddenly be like, oh, she's running through the hallway and then she runs into feudal Japan. And you're like, I guess she's in feudal Japan now. Like, it's just okay. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, the movie has no rules. The movie's just like, we will do whatever we need to do to kill you. Like, that's not creative. It's not fun. It makes it really hard for uh anybody to root for anything. It's just like there are thousands of movies where we can watch teenagers getting killed by literally anything. Um and horror movies do have some sort of plot, and when you have a thing here where you've bothered to go through this, oh, you shouldn't read that because it's cursed. Oh, now we're all cursed. And then like they don't even die in order. And it's just like, and their deaths are all just like, is there a way out? Like, because there are parts of like she has to read 3 cards. So she reads like, I think like one person was like, you will see money coming into your future. And they were like, oh, why wasn't that me? I don't even think we covered that. Did we cover money coming into his future? Like, how did he get money? Where did he get money from? I feel like we skipped that. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of the tarot cards should come true. Not just some of them. All of them. Not just the creepy ones. Not just the devil card. But like, where did he get a windfall of money that I missed? This is yeah. This is a really shitty movie. It's 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 so stupid. And the funny thing is that I guess because they're all cursed, like they can see each other's shit, like when they're attacked by things. Like so it's not like they're attacked by invisible forces. So like the girl who gets attacked by the hangman is legit in a car with the others and runs off. And like there are other people there and they see it. And it's but then like spoiler alert. So Jacob Battleland survives. He looks like he's about to die. But basically he survives because somebody who wasn't at the cabin walked in to the elevator that he was about to die in. So thus, I guess the clown that was about to kill him had to dissipate. Okay, so the rule here is to just be around other people who weren't getting their tarot readings. Just stay in large crowds and you'll be fine. It's just sort of like when you break down the plot of It Follows. It's like if you just stay in motion, that thing walks so slowly, you'll be fine. Uh, you you know anybody who like flies for like a pilot would be so they'd be that thing would just be walking all over the place just trying to catch up to the pilot. Like, I don't know where to go and can I walk on water? I don't know. This movie's like that. This movie just it's really easy to pick apart because it's really terrible. On top of the fact I haven't even gotten to some of the other shit yet. Like they go like of course we need exposition, so they have to go to a lady who knows more about horoscopes and tarot readings, and she's a medium or something. I don't know. I don't care. And they go to her so that she can give them the lowdown. And so she tells them the remaining 4 at this point, like the remaining 4, I think, who are left, or 3 or 4. I can't remember how many people are standing there. About like the history of this deck and this cursed deck, and she's like, and then Woodstock, thousands of people, 8 dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess there was a tarot reading at Woodstock and like 8 people were killed there. But then but then Jacob Battlelands doesn't die because there's some random person who comes into the elevator, his roommate or whatever, who's not part of this, so that the thing stops. And then, like, it lets him go. Like, he's able to drive all the way back to the rest of the gang. Weird. So fucking weird, man. And then he's like, "Oh, remember my tarot card said I always show up for my friends?" Ugh, God damn you. Anyway, so yeah, the adult in the room with some experience. So they decide they have to destroy the deck, basically. They don't know how to do that. They throw it in the fire. Of course, the cards don't burn. Like, it would be that easy. So then they come up with this idea where they have to, like, summon the person who cursed the deck, the original reader of the horoscopes. So they summon this woman who's, like, on the other side of the room, and she's just, like, staring at them. Not really, she doesn't feel like a strong presence, and we don't fully get her backstory, but it's like linked to the main girl's backstory. There's like they're trying to like narrative thread this, but it's so loose. Like, eventually, like, the main girl who did the readings is trying to tell this dead, cursed woman to let go. Be like, "I know it's hard. I lost my mother. You lost your daughter." I'm like, when? Where? I know this movie's short, but Jesus. Like, one of the things I liked expeditiously about the movie was that we started off and it just kind of got going really quickly. Maybe we should have had like an original scene, like more establishing scenes here to make this more resonant. We should have established this more at the beginning to make it more resonant. Anyway, so they talk it out, but before this, they're like, there are no rules to this film about rules. The older lady, she's not old, she's like, I don't know, my age probably. She comes in to like help them, and she's like, what I need to do is I need to pull the evil into these rocks. So she hasn't touched the deck necessarily because the deck is inside of a box. So I guess the kids pulled it out. She never had her horoscope read, so she has no reading. There's no indication that she handled the cards themselves. So what she does is she puts these things and she's trying to like pull, and she's trying to do like a thing. And basically the demon, the cursed woman, just decides that this woman must die. And this card with like swords on it like flashes, and then she gets sucked away, which happens a lot in this movie, by the way. Somebody who made this movie saw Quarantine and or Wreck, that at the end of the movie where she gets like sucked off, and they're like, oh my god, we need to do that all the time, all day, every day. So that happens an absurd amount of times in this film, like at least 4 or 5 times, where somebody just gets like sucked off into darkness, like, and you're just like dragged just to nowhere. And then they find her again, and she's got like swords stabbed through her, and you're like, but she didn't even get a reading. Like, she wasn't even part of the group. But yet, like, this dude's roommate is like, like garlic / silver bullet for these things. Like, he just walks into the elevator and the clown's like, oh fuck, I can't be here. I guess Jacob Battleland gets to live, I just, like, this is such a fucking terrible movie because it just refuses to follow by any rules, and it refuses to use creativity at all. This is a movie that could have been great because technically it's why there's like 5 or 6 Final Destination films, is because initially that first concept, we were like, oh my god, this is amazing. So they cheated death, and now death is coming for them, and they have to try to figure out the order in which they were going to die, so it'll leap that person, then go to the next person. Like, there were all these cool rules about Final Destination, And it wasn't that there was like a specificity to their death. It was just like, death is coming for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they didn't know where or when. And people just died in like random sort of like sudden ways. And it's like, that could have been this, you know? I would have much rather seen like no demons in this movie and just been like, how does this woman die on a ladder? Create that moment for me. Craft that moment and show that to me. How does this girl end up dying on a noose without the help of a hangman literally grabbing her, thrusting her into the sky, and then hanging? How does the girl get trapped into a box without a magician putting her there and then sawing her in half? Like, how do these things actually happen? Those are the things that would have made this film interesting. Instead, this film goes the complete opposite direction into just like attempting to be one of the worst movies ever made. This is easily the worst film I've seen this year. And other than the fact that it didn't run too long, which I can't even really say that's like a plus side. You know, thank you for not making this too long because it was shit and I didn't want to sit through more than 90 minutes of like, it could have been shorter. You know what I'm saying? Like this film, when you're watching things that are terrible, you're like, can I just watch the trailer for this? You know, like you regret like all your life choices. There's nothing redeemable about this. There are actors in here that I like. I like Avantika. Like she was in Mean Girls. I thought she did a good job as Karen. I'm one of the few people that thought the Mean Girls remake wasn't awful. Not as good as the original. It wasn't awful. And I like Jacob Batalon, you know? But like this movie does nothing for anybody. This movie actually, I would call this a career killer. Like I think people are gonna, if like you're gonna see Tarot on the list and they're gonna be like, I don't know, man. You were in Tarot, you know. I hope that paycheck was nice. Cause years later, when they're sitting there thinking about should this person get an Oscar nomination, they're gonna look at your thing and be like, oh, Tarot, I don't know, man. I just don't know, you know. Audio description, thank you, because if Media Access Group hadn't made this level of audio description, I wouldn't have this level of scrutiny on this film. I would just be like, I don't know what's happening. But the problem is I still don't know what's happening because the film, again, has no rules. So suddenly, like, you're in a house, but then you're in, like, an auditorium on a stage with a box. And I'm just like, how the fuck did we get here? We're, like, in a house in the middle of nowhere. And, like, we're in an auditorium. Do we just, like, do we teleport people to wherever they need to be? Is it just... You just accept it. Just accept it. Be like, well, I've been tagged, so there's no fighting it because, yeah, you know, I mean, they're just going to spawn a demon that's going to do whatever it needs to do and then take me to the location it needs to take me to. There's no creativity in that. There's just, it's so lazy. It's so lazy. I know they think they're being cool and they think they're being creative and they think they're being scary because every 5 seconds somebody's like getting like this, the sound is dropping out and then you hear like, you get like a jump scare, you know? Full of jump scares, by the way. They're all shitty. Not a single good jump scare in this film. But I just don't know. I can't follow the train of thought into what these two people did. And they wrote and directed it. So it's not even like I can say it's poorly directed, but there might have been something in the script, or the script was terrible, but the direction is good. No, I get to actually say these two people are hot garbage and should never work again. I can actually say that. Because the whole process is them. They are the process. Even if this was originally intended for an R-rated film, adding more gore to this is not going to make it better. It's not going to make it more coherent. It's not going to make it more interesting. It does nothing for this film. An unrated cut of this film would do nothing to help it. Because it's fundamentally awful from the very beginning. I'm going to give Tarot an F. It's my first of the year. That felt good. Yeah. Don't watch this movie. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'm going to go join the support group for everybody who's seen Tarot. I don't know why it has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to find all those critics and troll them. Anybody who gave this thing a positive score, impossible. You can give it higher than an F, but there's no way that you look at this and you go, yeah, fresh. Like, this is good. This feels good. Like, no, no, no. That percentage, no. No, I'm sorry. I refuse to believe that. There's no line here. You can go, well, it wasn't that bad. It was better than Night Swim. I'm fine with those kind of conversations. If you want to have a conversation about, like, how bad is bad, great. But if you want to try to tell me and gaslight me into believing that this is a good movie, fuck you. This is not. It could have been, but it's not. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the other side.